Hey, welcome back to my channel. I'm Gio, and today we are going to be diving into the holiday spirit with a fun design project you're going to love. This is the issue when you ask AI to create dialogue for you and you don't just write it yourself. Today we're going to be covering a tutorial on how to create your own holiday themed wallpapers for your phone, tablet, or desktop. Right now we keep seeing so much holiday shoved down our throats, and I think that a lot of the times we see so much of the same red, green, cream colors, whites, etc. Whether you want to go traditional or you want to go really bold, something that I personally love to do, or something whimsical, we'll cover the basics together, geographic style. Today we're going to be using Adobe Illustrator. It's honestly my favorite program. It has the most versatility in what you can do. A really good way to start collecting ideas would be, using like a mood board generator or like Pinterest. A lot of times we can think about themes or ideas or concepts that we want to use for design. And in this case, for a wallpaper that is holiday themed, I know a lot of times we can go traditional, whether it's, snowflakes or ornaments, candy canes, or you can think outside the box and go left of center where it looks a little bit more modern. That's typically how I like to go, especially with the use of color. One of the things that I like to do, especially if I'm creating something that is custom for myself or for something that is going to be geographic branded, it's not for a specific client, I like to actually go back to older work that I've done in the past and see what I have done in order to dictate what I'm going to do. I do like to see the themes that I've created from year to year, whether it's for editorial or for a postcard, illustration, collage. Every year I like to do something different. If we're going to be doing something that is not necessarily obviously holiday, a tip that I would give is to use a color palette that is very much holiday focused. So that way, if the visual is not necessarily, like a candy cane, then at least there's that nod to holidays using the colors. Here are one of two color palettes that I'm going to be using today. I haven't really decided yet on which one I want to go with. The reason I chose these is that I find that there's like our traditional approach with our greens, our cream, white, and reds. And then we have a secondary, which is a bit more modern, but it's not necessarily that traditional idea that we think of when we think of like winter holidays. Next, we are going to set up our canvas. So I'm going to invite you to open up Illustrator. So we'll hit new file, and we can size it so it's already 1080 by 1920 for the height. We want to make sure that it's in pixels and not anything else, because this is going to be for mobile and digital. RGB color, CMYK is for print if we look at that, and then we do 72 ppi for screen and create. So here we have our mobile, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge the color palette file with this so that way we can use that together. So if you already have a file open and you're looking to create an artboard, we'll just do File, Document Setup, Edit Artboards. Here's where we can see that our units of measurement are still pixels. So we can go Edit Artboard, draw anywhere on here. I find that trying to move this around and shape it yourself is a little bit difficult. So if you want to make it exact, here you can do 1080 pixels by 1920 pixels. It will just create that size automatically. Next to that, I want to do the same thing, document setup, edit artboards, but here I want to create a larger artboard that will allow me to experiment with the design, and then using this final element as a way to mock all of the elements together. So now we're going to get to actually designing the wallpaper. I went ahead and created an illustration of one of my original characters that I did for a holiday postcard back in 2016. I created this Yeti. It was like a Sasquatch. And so I wanted to bring it back, but do a different version of it. What I want to do is start with that illustration as the focal point of the wallpaper. So I'm going to go ahead and find the file and place the image into the document. So we're going to hit File, Place. We're going to place the file. So here we have our little Sasquatch. What we want to do is go over to the color palettes. Now, because I haven't made a decision on which one I wanted, I knew I wanted to go in a specific direction. Having a look at this illustration that I've created, and if you're using a different image on your side of things, make sure that you look at either contrast or a monochromatic approach. So that way, if you're using mostly reds with like pops of green as a contrast color or green tones, then that could look really good. In this case, looking at the two color palettes that I have, what I want to do is copy both of them and paste them. And then I can just put them behind the Sasquatch and just resize them because I want to see which colors work best. So looking at this overall, I feel like you can go in either direction, honestly. I think that the primary red tones of the illustration go really well with the green tones, but then if we want to keep a more monochromatic look with a couple of cooler tones, I think you could also work with this palette. So I think in this case, just to drive home the holiday look, I think I'm going to go with the greens. So we'll delete that. So I'm going to start with the lighter green. I think that this will work a lot better with the background, and then we can create that shape. So this is our overall look. And I want to move this lady, this beautiful lady. I want to center it there. Now, what I always like to do is create Easter eggs, and I'm fully aware that I'm not at a level where everybody knows my work, but what I do like to include are little throwbacks or nods to other designs that I've done and include them. So in my last video, I have created a postcard, a holiday postcard, and I created like a background with snow and stars, something very, very typical, traditional themed. So what I want to do is create something a bit more graphic in the background. So I'm just going to move this down a bit so I have it away from the other workspace. And then we're going to delete this color palette because I do want to just focus on the one so it doesn't really distract me, and then we'll keep this here. Looking at this, we have our central figure, but we're not looking at anything else in the image. We don't have anything. So what I've gone ahead, as well as designing or as well as illustrating this Sasquatch. So now that we have our central figure placed with our background, what I want to do is add a bit of extra elements into the design. I think that it looks a little bit boring right now. You have this cute little figure in the middle, but you want to add some extra elements to it. So what I did was I also did illustrations of a few snowflakes that I want to add to the background. Now, once again, I know this is a very traditional approach, but we're doing the overall look with a different aesthetic. So we can go ahead and place the file. So file, place, and here we have our holiday wallpaper snowflakes. I'm going to drop them into the file, and then I'm going to trace them because this flat image can actually be converted into a vector file that we can move around the individual elements. So if you just hit image trace right here at the top, hit OK. And then what that's going to do is trace the image, and then from there you can expand it, which is in the top as well. What this will allow us to do is to delete the background if you double click on it. And then from here, you have all of these individual elements that we can play around with in the background. So what I want to do is ungroup them all. So Command Shift G if you're on a Mac, and Control Shift G if you're on Microsoft. So from here we can select the individual snowflakes. So I'm going to remove them and then group them again, so that way all of the little bits and pieces that are around them are selected into one. So I'm going to group those. We have our star, and I want to keep the elements in the middle because I find that those will be interesting to add extra bits of color to add a bit more depth rather than them being flat. So I'm going to group those. And then we'll do Command or Control G to regroup these elements. So I have gone ahead and created all of the elements here because I want to make sure that I'm creating a unique piece of artwork. But if you're new to design, you can try simple patterns using shapes, or you can use free icons from a variety of sites online. There are a lot of free resources where you can purchase existing graphics, so you don't have to actually create anything from scratch. So it's a little bit easier for you if you don't have a design background. So now I want to play around with actually creating this element. So here I'm looking at this color palette. I'm going to move these over. select them all and move because I want to actually create these. So looking at these, I actually want the snowflakes to be a little bit lighter. And then if I select all of this and then Command Shift or Control Shift, it will actually maintain the selected elements of the inner star. So let's see what that looks like, or snowflake. Okay, so the more I look at this, I actually don't want the background to be green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the snowflakes green, and then I'm going to make this inner part light green. Okay, I already love that so much better. So we're going to copy this over here. We're going to do the same thing. So we're going to select the black, Command or Shift click when all of it's selected, so that way the inner elements are only colored, and then we're going to re-click on the black, and then we're going to select a different color. Always try to go with contrast. I think darker and lighter looks better. So if you look here, you can see these elements, and the snowflakes are obviously snowflakes, but they're not standard boring snowflakes. Kind of gives like a 60s look, which I don't mind, especially with the fall that she has. So now I am feeling like I'm about 90% done. I find that with wallpapers on your phone, you don't necessarily want to add a lot of text because there's going to be so many icons and apps on top of it that you're not going to really see it. It just gets a little bit noisier. So what I want to do is just do some final touches where I'm maybe adding in a grounding point for her to stand on and a background. So if you watch my first video, you'll recognize that these elements are from that postcard. So what I wanted to do is take this background, just because I do like the shape, and I think that if we're gonna stay in theme and we're gonna do the overall look of like a geographic card, what I want to do is cut it out, and then I'm going to paste it in and then bring it to the back. So we're gonna do Command with the left bracket all the way back, and then here I'm going to place that in because I do like the way it looks. I'm like, do I like the red? I like the green. I think I'm going to keep it green, and then I'm going to move this star. So looking at the final touches, I can see that the background, I like that there's like a bit, it shows a bit of depth here where we have the star in the front, she's midpoint, and then we have the elements in the back. I think here we want to make sure that the space is filled. We have a bit of variety in the size of the snowflakes, because I feel like if all of them are the same size, there's not necessarily enough diversity in the elements. So then that way everything kind of looks the same and it falls a little bit flat. So I think that there's a bit more dynamism in a layout when it comes to size and scale of elements. And then we're going to bring this down a little bit. I feel like there's something missing here. Maybe if we just bring up a star, rotate it. This is literally ridiculous. Now that we have the final design, we can export it. So what I would recommend is saving it as a PNG for the best resolution. If you're making versions for your multiple devices, adjust your canvas size before exporting the image. So what you're going to do is File, Export, Export As, and then we can name that, we'll name it the Sasquatch holiday wallpaper 2024. We're going to click use artboard. We only have one for now, so we'll hit the one, export, and hit OK. And that's it. You have your very own holiday wallpaper. I want to see what you guys create and share your designs on social media by tagging me at GIOGRAFIK. If you like this tutorial, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more design inspo. And you can find more of my creative on my website at giographic.com. Happy holidays, and we'll see you in the next video. Happy holidays. Happy holidays, happy holidays, and we'll see you next time. Happy holidays. Bye.